No, the title is not clickbait. Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Today I'll be going over a bunch of stuff that you may need for your Tacoma to complete the lifting process. So things I'll be going over today are things that are not directly related to lifting your Tacoma higher off the ground. So this will not include leaf springs, the front coils, and the front shocks and rear shocks and stuff like that. So you might call them good accessories for your Tacoma, some of which you might not even know you need until after you lift it. That's just the way it goes. So this video is really designed for those of you who are new to lifting Tacomas, are starting to do your research, which you will quickly see is pretty overwhelming once you start diving in and seeing all the different types of things you can get for your truck to get it just a few inches off the ground. I hate planes. So stay tuned and we're going to dive right in and show you why, after purchasing all the general lift components for your truck, you might be in for a lot more money than you thought. All right, everybody, first up on the list is UCAs, or upper control arms. Yes, your truck does come with upper control arms from their factory. It is this sort of horseshoe-shaped thing right here. Mine's actually filthy right now and need to give it a good cleaning, but that's what the UCA is. Generally, it's recommended you get new upper control arms if you're getting 2.5 inches or more of lift in the front. Technically, I guess you could run your lift without getting aftermarket UCAs, but it's going to make it very difficult, if not impossible, to get your truck properly aligned because all the aftermarket UCAs just have more adjustments, more fine-tuning ability, and they're generally beefier so they can take more punishment off-road, give you more articulation, and really take advantage of that suspension you're spending all that money on. So like I said, if you're getting 2.5 inches or more of planned lift up front, look into UCAs, and these usually start about $350 to $400. I'm running the SPC Light Racing UCAs, which are probably one of the most popular, I guess, starter UCAs. You know, there's some by Total Chaos and Icon that are upwards of $700, if not more, if you get the billet ones. That's just a quick price for you looking in if you need to get these. Generally, assume it's going to cost about $400 or more. Next on the list is extended brake lines. You can see I've got extended brake lines here in the rear. Here's the one on the left and the one on the right. Just because my rear suspension setup, the old Magnum cars with the Bilstein B110 shocks give you so much more travel than stock that at full droop and full flex, your factory brake lines are in danger of actually pulling free, and obviously you don't want to be popping one of these loose on the trail and losing your brakes. So these ones, I think they give me about 5 inches. They're 5 inches longer, so 5 inches more that they can travel without being in danger of snapping. So usually a pair of these, I just got mine for the rear. I think it was about 50 or 60 bucks. Sometimes you might need them also in the front if you are running a mid-travel, obviously a long travel setup. I am not running a mid-travel. These are not extended travel front shocks, so I don't need any for the front, but if you are getting like the extended travel like Fox, or usually the higher end shocks, Icon, Fox, Kings, so on and so forth, they give you a few more inches of travel. You will need to get extended brake lines for the front also, and like I said earlier, probably another 50 bucks for those. Aftermarket bump stops are next on the list. I am running the Wheeler Super Bumps right here in the back. There's the passenger side and driver's side right there. I actually have mine on one of those U-bolt flip kits. You don't need to get that. But you do need to look into getting some aftermarket bump stops when you start changing up your suspension, because the factory ones are much smaller. These ones give you more cushion, and they're usually a lot longer, so you would actually get those to start interacting with your frame, you can see up there, sooner, just because you don't want to risk bottoming out your shocks, tearing them free. Same thing in the front. I'll show you those in just a second. And here's what I'm running in the front. These are the Toyota Super Bumps. I'll put links down in the description if you guys are interested in grabbing some of those. But again, these give you much more controlled compression when you risk bottoming out. Especially these ones you can see right here. They've got like this softer part right here that takes the initial hit. This part up here is a stronger plastic or rubber and sort of compresses at a more controlled rate when it hits the lower control arm right here. So look into getting some of these. If you're running a basic setup, you can usually just buy the basic front and rear bump stops. Once you start getting into more advanced long travel setups and stuff like that, like if you plan on doing any like desert racing, jumping your truck, all that, that's where you really need to sit down and do your research and do the math and see where you're risking bottoming out with your shocks. You know, figuring out the shock travel, how long the shocks are, all kind of stuff. Start using a bunch of algebra and stuff like that, which I completely forgot how to do, so that's why I'm running a basic setup for now. Next up on the list, this right down here where I'm pointing at is called your cab mount. You can see mine sort of sunken in because I have done what is called the cab mount chop. I actually did a video on this if you want to check it out to see what's involved in the process. Technically, you don't need this for a lift because if you're just lifting your truck, your stock tires will not rub back here, but I can't think of any Tacoma owner who has lifted their truck and not upgraded to larger tires, usually in the 33-inch size. So if you are one of those 99.9% repeating Tacoma drivers who wants to add bigger tires to your truck, 285s are one of the more popular 33-inch sizes, and 9 times out of 10, 285s will rub back here, depending on the size of the wheels you're running, the back spacing, all that. But chances are you should be prepared that your tire is going to rub back here, in addition to some of the plastic over here, which you can cut out. But you will need to buy the cab mount chop plates, which are just usually 20-25 bucks. And if you don't have the welding skills or the grinding skills to cut that out yourself, you're probably going to have to pay someone about 50 to 100 bucks to do that. So there's another additional expense just to fit larger tires on your Tacoma. Another quick expense to consider, and this will apply to everyone who's lifting their Tacoma regardless of the setup, you will have to get an alignment afterwards, and depending on the shop, you can probably plan on spending about 100 bucks for that. And the last thing I'm going to talk about for this video is certainly the most fun and surprising, because it's something you won't know you'll need to fix until you actually lift your truck and see if you have a problem. Some people have problems with this, some people don't, and that of course is vibes. There are 3 general fixes you can do for your truck if you do experience vibes. The first one is an axle shim, which you literally put, let me jump into the truck real quick, which is just an angled block you put on the bottom of your leaf springs. It's, I believe, the 3-degree axle shim is the most common, and that just helps line up your drive shaft more with your carrier bearing to a more stock lineup. If you throw that geometry off just a few degrees, you will start getting vibes. Again, that's something you won't know you need to fix until you actually lift. The second fix you can do to help fix your vibes is what's called the carrier bearing drop kit. When I ordered my lift setup through Headstrong Off-Road, it actually came with this. So I decided to install it. I had like minor vibes, usually when at takeoff at about 5 to 10 miles an hour. I did a video linked right up here which you can see the install, but it literally is just, I think it's a 1/2-inch block. You can see right here, you just unbolt this, put the block in, and again, just like with the axle shim back there, this helps line up your drive shaft more with your differential to a more stock lineup. If you do need to buy the carrier bearing drop kit, I think it's usually just 20 or 25 bucks. And the last one you're really not going to be able to see, but it is on the inside of your CVs right in here. And this is one, if you're not skilled, you'll have to pay someone to do this. Probably going to be 100 or 200 bucks. This is what's called the vibe for this one, and this is one of the most common ones, is where you need to replace the needle bearing that's in here with the East Coast gear supply. I think it's like a C-clamp that replaces that and eliminates that vibe. Price for that clamp and the tool needed to actually safely remove the needle bearing is about 100 bucks, and again, maybe another 100 to get someone to install that if you don't have those skills. An easy way to test to see if you have this vibe and if that is your problem: if you are driving your truck in a straight line, of course, on the highway, and you are experiencing the vibe, people usually say it's between 40 and 60 miles per hour, where you can sort of feel it shaking your steering wheel. While you're going straight, if you put your truck into 4-wheel drive and the vibe instantly goes away, you know you need to do that East Coast gear supply C-clamp bushing to fix all that. If you switch it into 4-high while on the highway at those speeds and the vibe doesn't go away, chances are it's one of these two, if not something else. All right, everyone, and lastly, which something I just sort of thought of at the last second, if you plan on installing all your suspension components yourself, that's great. It will save you a ton of money. But if you don't, if you just bought the pieces and then you need to pay someone to get it installed, like a shop or a professional, count on spending probably at least $1,000 for that. I would recommend, if you're on Tacoma World, search your regional forums, get a few buddies together. It's really not that hard, especially if you have a few friends who have the tools, obviously, and hopefully some of your friends have installed lifts a few times before. It's really not that bad if you take your time. Should be able to bust it out in 4 or 5 hours, going super slow, making sure everyone's safe, getting everything installed correctly. If you don't know anyone, don't have the tools, don't have the skill or patience or time, look at about $1,000 to do that. So aside from that, if you need everything I've mentioned today, which I hope you don't, but you never know, you might get all 3 of those vibes. If you need to get everything I've mentioned today, that's going to be probably another $900 to $1,000 added to the price of your suspension components. So I just wanted to make this quick video going over these things, help educate you guys just a little bit if you are shopping around for lifts, because that's usually the thing we are most excited about doing. Lift our truck, usually about 2 to 3 inches, slap on some bigger tires, get out there on the trail and start having some fun. All right, everyone, I hope you found this video useful. If you did, please give it a thumbs up, comment below, let me know what you think. Let me know if anything I mentioned on this list was something you had completely forgot about while doing your research and shopping around for all your suspension components. If this is your first time stopping by and you love everything related to Tacomas, please consider subscribing. Help support the channel by checking out the Tacomaholic shop, link right down below, and consider becoming a Patreon and helping the channel grow that way. Share this video with your friends and family and help me grow the channel on social media. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, and I will see you in the next video.